Hiya, Martin here. Thank you for joining me for this week's turning project video. I hope you're all well and you have had super creative weeks and weekends in your workshops. In recent weeks, and especially at UKIS at Coventry the other week, a few people were asking me if I could do a video using the Sorby Ultima hollowing tool, which is what I'm doing today. I'm not really qualified enough to do a full-on review about it. I don't think personally, because I've only used it like 5 times now. But what I can say is I am incredibly impressed with it, and what you see in this video is me with my fifth time using it, and what I think of it and how it feels and that sort of thing. So if you've got any comments or questions about it, then leave them in the box below. And also in this video, there's another kind of first. I've got these. I picked up these oxidizing metal effect paints from Modern Masters, and this is the first time I've used these as well, and I love them. I really love them. They're not particularly cheap, but they are superb. In fact, I've done my fireplace with them. So I'm using the Sorby Ultima and the metal effect paints to create this little vase, which is a commissioned piece. It's a commissioned piece from a lady who I met recently at Coventry. She's a wood turner, and she asked me to make her a vase, and this is the end result. Stay tuned to the end of the video. Now the video is in itself quite long, so look just here and you'll be able to see where the hollowing starts and also the use of the metal reactive paints. So if you don't want to be watching the actual main sort of turning but want to get into the hollowing or the painting, then use those timestamps down there and you'll be able to zip straight across to them, and they're in the description as well. So I'm not going to waffle on any longer, so here is how I turned the little hollow form vase with the metal effects paints. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you shortly. So chucked up between centres this morning I have a piece of ash. It's still a tiny bit wet, but that should hopefully dry off a little bit during the process. And we're going to turn a vase similar in shape to this one, which is the one that I turned in my demo at Coventry a couple of weeks ago. And we're going to hollow out the inside using the Sorby Ultima tool. And then after that we're going to put on some reactive metal paints, you know, the ones that oxidize. So everything's locked down. I've got the tool rest at the right height that I want, and face shield on for the roughing down, and spinning the piece to make sure that it doesn't hit the tool rest. Start slowly, build up the speed and start to rough it down. The piece is a bit out of balance at the moment. Now I've got the piece as round as I want it to be, I'm going to put the tenon on the right hand end here, then reverse it round and then put it in the chuck. And for that I'm going to use the parting and beading tool to square off this end and then make the tenon. Take the thin parting tool to create the dovetail that I need. I've got the piece in the chuck, and I've changed the live centre for a pointy one, rather than the steb style centre, and that will allow me to get nice and close down the end there to square off this end, so it's nice and square for when I drill it out with the Forstner bit. So if we take a look at the blank now, I've got one square end over here by the tailstock, which is where the neck of the vase is going to be. But down here on the right hand side, a bit like on this piece, I've got a waste block, and it's through that waste block I'm going to turn off, or round about that waste block, that I'm going to turn off the piece. And I saw Mark Sanger do a video about that on YouTube a few weeks ago, and I thought actually that's a really good idea, because it keeps the parting tool away from the chuck jaws as you're parting off. So learned something there. Now I've got the piece here, and I'm going to use the bowl gouge to make the rough form to start with before I take the Forstner bit into it, just to keep as much kind of meat in the piece as I can. So I'm going to start shaping, and then I'm going to take the Forstner bit to core out the inside. So I want the bulk of the body, this is going to be the top of the rim up here, I want the bulk of the body to be about a third of the way down-ish, so about there, and then tapering down to a little foot here where this nasty looking knot is. So I'm going to use the bowl gouge, and I'm going to use the bowl gouge like a spindle gouge when I get the tool rest to the right height, that is. So I'm going to use the bowl gouge like a spindle gouge. That's all I want to do for the moment, because next I need to get the Forstner bit out. With the tailstock away, I only want to hollow down to about here-ish, something like that, I think. Bearing in mind I'm not overly experienced with the tool yet, so I'm erring on the side of caution. So I'm going to line the Forstner bit up with how deep I want to go, put a mark over here on the shank. So I'm going to slow the lathe right down, and I don't have a rev counter on this lathe, so I'm having to guess, but I'm guessing that's probably 500-600 revs. Lock down the tailstock, hold the chuck, hold the Jacob's chuck, and slowly advance the Forstner bit. Now this is a 50mm bit, so it's making a big hole, and it's generating a lot of heat as well. So I've got to take it nice and steady. I can feel it catching, and as you heard there, it's getting hot, so it's beginning to rub more on the side of the piece, or the inside of the hole. And I've tightened it up as far as I can go. So it's just a case of slowly did it. It's a vicious drill bit, that size, and I think it would probably, and it's cracked the piece. the heat here has cracked the piece. So I'm going to brush out the shavings, and I'm not going to worry too much about the crack. I'm not going to worry too much about the crack. I can put some thin CA in there and close it back up again, because over the top of the rim here I'm going to be putting the patina, so it's not ever going to be seen. Now I'm going to do a little bit more shaping, just a touch, just to get the final rounded shape that I want on the piece, and then we can start hollowing it out. So I'm going to go back to the bowl gouge. I can speed the lathe up. I've got a little rubber ball in the end here just to give it a little bit of extra support, although there is still quite a lot of wood down the end here, but I just want to round off. Yeah, the shape's coming. I've got more to take off down here, but I want to keep as much weight on the piece and as much strength as I can whilst I hollow it. Here's the Sorby Ultima hollowing tool, and as you can see it's got an articulating head. You can undo this screw and this screw, and you can bend the head however you want. I went with the 22-inch handle version, with the extra steady handle on the side grip. And now the cutter itself, it's a high-speed steel cutter, and it is shielded by this movable guard. You've got a little micro adjustment knurl ring thing here, and if you undo that screw, you can make your cut as aggressive or not as you wish. And I've got probably just under 0.5 millimetre of the actual cutting edge showing here, which is fine for me because I'm just kind of getting used to it more than anything else, and I find that it cuts very, very nicely indeed. Now bear in mind though that this is only the 5th time that I've used it, so I'm not going to be perfect, but I will be able to give you at least an honest, sort of first impression, as it were. Your tool rest needs to be quite a long way from the piece, because the head is attached to the shank with this rather large slip thing. So you need to take your tool rest quite far away from the piece in order to use it, like so. And even then I'm not quite up to the shoulder, so I need to be even further back than that. But because the tool rest is so far away from the piece, that doesn't worry me so much, because I like to have my tool rest a little bit further away from the work, as I like to control the balance. So that is about as far away as I want to be, and I can get all the way down, and it feels rather nice. So with the lathe running fairly slow, I think that's probably 650, maybe 750 RPM, something like that. I can put the tool in, turn it round slightly to the left, and engage the cutter. Now obviously you can't really see what you're doing particularly, but you can crouch down and look into the piece. Now every so often the shavings, as they come through the guard, they get a bit stuck, but with a little blow and a little bit of moving around. My studio light has just exploded. Okay, right, moving on. I've turned it off at the mains, and I've unplugged it as well, so that's fine. Panic over. Now, as I'm diving in there, I'm noticing that that I'm not getting quite the cut that I want. So I'm just going to change the attack, or the angle of the tip here, to give me a better angle. Now remember, I am still getting used to this, so we'll have to see. And also, if I lower the tool rest a touch, just a tiny bit, that might help as well. If I pull out the head, you can see that I'm getting a nice cut with the head at about 8:30, if that makes sense. So we've got 8 o'clock about there, 9 o'clock is there, and about 8:30 is a nice cutting angle. And you can judge that by using the handle, and feeling the position of the steady handle. Let's check again. I'm just using a brass brush to take the shavings out. That feels better. Need a little bit more there, just a tiny bit. It's quite vicious, and I think I've gone very thin there. Yeah, I've gone very thin there. That's down to, I don't know, let's see. That's down to 3mm there. Right, I'm not going to do any more. I'm just too scared. Too scared. More practice required. So, let's get it back round and then finish the shaping. So let's take a look at how thin these walls are. So there is about 8mm. Okay, so I need to do all my shaping from this mark here down, and then very, very, very carefully. I've got a little bit of space here, a little bit I can play with there. Okay, let's see what happens. So back to the bowl gouge. That mark there. just too scared, so I'm going to sand it and then I'll come back to you. Now the brief for this vase was dark, so I'm going to spray the whole lot black and spray the inside black. Now I have to admit the inside is not particularly pretty. I have sanded it down so up to about this finger depth it actually feels okay. It's not great, but again, you know, only 5th time with the tool, it needs some practice. So I'm going to grab the airbrush and the black paint, or the black stain, get the lathe running and spray the inside black. And the outside black. Like that. Oh yeah, and I sanded it down only to 320 as well. And then sand it back a bit and then start playing with the oxidizing paints. I can now start applying the paints, and I've got hold of the the oxidizing copper, iron and bronze paints together with their respective activators. Now I don't do if I'm going to do something, I want to, you know, sort of really do what I can to make it as best as I possibly can. So this is the first time I've had a go with these oxidizing paints. So I need gloves on, that's for sure. And I think I want to mix up, well not mix up, but use the the copper and the iron together to create kind of a red and, well, a rust and a green sort of patina over it. So that's the bronze, and of course I have almost totally ignored the instructions, but I was reliably informed that that's the iron paint. I've been reliably informed that I don't need to use a primer. Okay, right, so I need to apply one of these, and what I'll do is, rather what I've got is, I've got an old paintbrush, and what I want to do is, you can't see this very well, but I want to paint the inside of the piece. I don't want a nice neat line. I want it kind of well, natural, aged look sort of thing. So I'm just applying the paint around the rim, and I'll do the same on the outside. Now I need to leave that to go off, but I think I will encourage it a little bit with the heat gun. Now I've done the second coat of the iron, and I haven't got a spray bottle thing, because the two spray bottles that I did have, I've put the green and the blue patina fluid in. So I'm going to apply the Rust Activator with another brush. So I've poured out a little bit of the Rust Activator into the cap of the bottle, and I'm just going to apply it as per the instructions. I'll put my goggles on for this because it's kind of flicking around a little bit. And I don't want it too kind of uniform, so I'm kind of doing it sort of randomly, and what I'm guessing is where I put the second coat on kind of randomly again, there's going to be a better, actually, the other thing I was advised is to protect the lathe bed. So let's get some card under there. And then it said wait 5 minutes and then reapply the activator. So let's wait 5 minutes and reapply the activator, shall we? So it's been a couple of hours, and as you can see, the Rust Activator has done its thing, and as far as what I can gather on the internet, it will continue to do its thing. But now I want to get on with the copper. I had a little play with the copper, and that happened just by using the heat gun, so that should go off really nice and quickly. But if you have a look around the piece, there are some gaps in the rust which I'm going to fill with copper, or the copper paint, and activate those with the blue patina on the top and the green patina on the bottom, I think. So I'm just going to get the gloves back on, and I'm going to take the brush, which I've cleaned, and I'm going to get a little bit of the copper. I hope you can see this okay. Dry now, and then I'm going to take a little bit on the end of the brush and stipple over the copper that I've just done, because the activator apparently won't work on the dry paint. And then get the blue patina, battery's dying. Arrgh! And then spray blue patina on the end, and we'll take the green patina and spray it on. Now I just need to leave all of that to dry. Well, it's the morning after the day before, and the piece is still on the lathe, as you can see, and I'm really pleased with how it's turned out for a first effort. Really pleased. But some of the wood around the centre here that's still visible isn't quite as dark as I would like it. So last night I came out, what was it, about 7:30, and added a little bit of oil just to this side, just to see how it looks. And maybe you can see it through this camera, but the oil has darkened the wood as you would expect it to. So now I'm going to add a little bit more to the wood. I'm using Danish oil as always. Going to add a little bit more, just to darken the wood down and give it a little bit of a shine, just a little bit, and I'm kind of blending it into the paint as well. Okay, about 5 minutes later, I'm just going to dab off any excess oil, or wipe off any excess oil. And there, I'm happy with that. That's good. I'm pleased, very pleased in fact. And now all I need to do is part the piece off. There's the piece. And there's the piece all done. I'm really pleased with how that has turned out, and now all I need to do is sand off the bottom and make it look nice and smart, and then the piece will be ready to send off to the customer. Now the lady who this is for, Ligia, the girl turner, so I think the most fitting name for this vase will be Ligia. Well, thank you very much indeed for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this week's project video, and please do like, share and subscribe if you'd like to see more videos like this, and plenty others besides. And if you feel so inclined, then please do leave a comment in the box below. I always do my best to reply to everybody as soon as I can, although a lot of the time it takes me a few weeks to get back to everybody. Well, that's it for this week. Thank you very much indeed for watching, and I'll see you again very soon.